All right, so everyone, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, please go back and check out some other videos. It'll make a lot more sense of where we're at this moment. But two videos ago, 3 videos ago, something like that, we had a contest of guessing who could guess what the 3 lines that we're going to be running in those trenches were for. And Anthony Klein actually guessed correctly, but he did not guess correctly on what we were building. It's not a greenhouse. It is a shop building. So we're gonna build a 40 by 60 shop building, waiting for concrete to get done. As you can see, it's very wet here, so they really can't do any concrete work at the moment. And you can see back here in the background, we've got a sump pump running, trying to drain this down. I need to run my electric lines and the line that comes from the wood boiler. I already have my water line ran. And this is actually gonna be the corner of the building. So all this stuff is gonna come in on the inside of the building. The reason being is because I want to have water inside the shop. There's gonna be a drain in the shop floor so we can power wash stuff in the winter time. And then obviously this needs to come on, the big one needs to come out on the inside because that's gonna have that corrugated piping. It's got 2 1-inch PEX lines, basically a feed and return line for the heat exchanger we're gonna put in here from the wood boiler. I just don't want to work outside on stuff anymore as part of it. The other thing is that sometimes we have projects that take a little longer. We tear something apart and it turns out I need more parts than what I thought I did, and then I'm waiting a week or 2 on parts. I can leave stuff apart in the lean-to or even in the old barn with the dirt floor. Problem is that just like today or like most days here, we usually have a pretty decent breeze. Generally somewhere between 5 to 15 miles an hour. As you can see in the background, we're pretty open. There's not a lot of windbreak, so it makes it hard to leave stuff open because then I get dust and dirt and debris in there and it's hard to clean it out. So we're gonna finally move on to this. We wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. Chrissy didn't really care. I wanted to do this last year. Actually, I wanted to do this several years ago. And we've been saving and trying to be responsible about it. So we finally got to the point now where we can build it. And I'm really excited about it. But I wanted to do it last year, but that big barn over there was far more of a priority for the animals than me having a shop building. Enough about that. So you're gonna see here in a few, well actually probably a couple hours when this all drains down. That's still working hard over there. I'm gonna have to go check it because it looks like it's right on the edge. But get all this water out of here, I will run the electric lines and the wood boiler lines. Hopefully not terrible hard task, we shall see. So it looks a little bit like kind of a mess, right? Because we have ram lambs only over here. We've got either moms that are tagless that need to be addressed and re-tagged, and then they're gonna stay in here because we don't know what their number was originally, and some of them have a baby that needs to be taken care of still. So they're all gonna stay in here, but the woolly ones they're done here. They're getting cold, they're going to the sale barn, and then we also have a couple more in there. They're gonna get cold because they either didn't produce a baby for the 2nd year in a row. So at that point, we've given them a second chance, they're done. This in here is all moms that are tagged, plus their babies, and all the ewe lambs. So everything's sorted. Now what I wanna do, this is a mess, right? We don't want this in here. I'm gonna scrape the barn out, and then I'm gonna move these 2 bales that are left up here, and then we'll put some sawdust down for their bedding, and they'll be in good shape for a few weeks. They'll get kicked out probably around the end of April, mid to end of April. Basically, I want them in here for a month. So right now it's the 17th, or no, what is it? Sorry, today's the 19th. So I want them in here for a while, just to get them good and grained and good and healthy, and get some good weight on them, because once it gets out there and it's rainy and windy, it's not cold, but it is cold. So we want to make sure that they're taken care of. So without further ado, I'm gonna go grab the tractor. I'll let you guys watch on time lapse. right, so yesterday we got a little sidetracked. We got all this done, and it was time to take the kids for their surprise when they get good grades, or do some big academic achievement. We usually go and celebrate. So sorry about that, we did get sidetracked. But this is where these guys are gonna live. So again, like woolly ones like this one, and that one, that one. Those guys aren't gonna stay here anymore. We don't want those characteristics in our flock. So them and their babies haven't been staying, and now we're to a point where we've got enough that the babies they were making that we sold, whether they're male or female, we've got enough babies now that are gonna be moms that we don't really need them so much anymore. And then of course we got some young moms like this one right here, her and her baby. They're just gonna hang out in here for a couple weeks because, as you can see, that baby's way too young to be by herself. We don't want to put the lambs outside because we want to grain them a little bit and feed them for the individuals that are going to buy them. We want them to be somewhere. We aim for 80 to 100 pounds. Some people do buy them from us young or smaller than that, but that's generally what we aim for. Now then, we will. There's always one that's got to climb on the wall every time. Anyways, we will kick these moms out after they get to a certain point. So like once the babies are old enough to be by themselves, that young mom that you just saw and her baby, the mom will be pulled and the mom will go out, baby will stay in here. For the most part, the lambs, they're gonna be in here for probably about a month, maybe a little over that. Yeah, so like, see how this guy is? He's probably about 40 pounds, maybe 50. But anyways, we want him to get bigger than that. We want him to be good and healthy and bring some good market weight. So that's why these guys are in here. She's in here. Her baby is actually young, but grew really fast. So she's kind of, or he's kind of lucky, I guess, at that point. And then we got Cow over here. She's staying because her babies are actually only about 5 weeks. So they're good size. She's done very well with them with twins, and we're happy about that. But again, we want to make sure that they get what they need before they get kicked out. This is the chicken coop. So we have a 30-inch walk-in door here. Latch is right there. But screen door just like we have on our house, basically. We're actually going to put the spring like we have on our house in here. So it'll keep this door shut and we won't even need this latch. But framed all in. We got to do the boxes yet. When we lost the cameras, like I said, we had a malfunction on the SD card too, apparently, at that time. So we lost those videos as well. So you're gonna have a small gap of things that you're like, well, when did that happen? So we'll try to explain them when we remember that they were missed. So real quick, we're gonna run our electric first because it's very simple to run. Just wanted to kind of show you what we've got going on. So I've set it up here and I actually measured by taking it and putting it up here. So where this is actually going to connect, hot will be connected right here, another hot will be connected right here, and my ground will go on either side. Doesn't matter, that or that side. Either one will be just fine. But whenever they are connected, remember that you're going to have power to the other end. So for instance, that end. We're not going to connect them. We just want to make sure that it is ran appropriate distance so I can connect everything when the time comes. Also, we ran 4-aught for our conductors. So this conductor and this conductor, which are our hots, are 4-aught. And this conductor right here is 2-aught. Now, we did that because we're rating the cable for 200 amp service. We are going to run 200 amps, a 200 amp panel in there and everything, just like we do in our home. Are we actually going to use 200 amps at a time in either our home or in the shop? No, but we want to have that ability for future expansion. So I say that because yes, it does cost more money. I paid almost twice what I would have paid if I ran only 100 amp service entrance for the new shop building. But I'd rather do it now once and be done and not have to dig all this up and do it again in years to come, because I do intend to put a lift in there that runs off 240 volts. I do intend to have my my welder set up in there, again 240 volts. I plan to get a wire welder at some point, which again uses 240 volts, and we have a plasma cutter that uses 240 volts. And then the final thing is I'm going to eventually upgrade to a bigger air compressor that is 240 volts and has a belt driven pump. So it's possible for 3 of those things to be running pretty close to the same time, especially if like Gage is cutting something for me at the plasma cutter and I'm welding. So I want to make sure that I have the capability of running all those things. So for the moment, I'm going to continue running this. Don't worry about the water in there. These cables are rated to be buried in the ground, and there's actually water just like that. That is, you can't see it in there, but if you were to dig a hole, say over here, right, and you dug down the same depth as I am right here, it would actually fill with water because the ground is so saturated right now. The water is just stagnant in here. Obviously it will dry up over time, but this is what it would look like if you dug a hole. So the water is not a concern. And then the other thing is we're not going to be running power at the moment anyway, so we don't have the risk of shock. So we're going to run over there and then we'll be back shortly. All right, so we've got all that ran, and this is exactly what we're going to do. We're actually going to leave this in here. I don't want to connect anything right now, for one, because this line is going to nothing currently. So I want to just keep it in here, and I want to close this back up. I didn't strip the ends at all, just to make it to where no contact can be made with anything, to make it dangerous for anybody or any animals that are near it. So we're going to go ahead and close this, and hopefully in a month or so we'll be ready to connect this. We'll see though. It's supposed to be a couple weeks before they even come out to do our concrete because they got pushed back with all this rain. On another note, the way we set this in, we did put an elbow on there. I know a lot of people don't, but we put the elbow on there because it'll make it to where it's a much easier bend, and I won't really ever have to worry about the line getting kinked. Not that it's going to kink electricity off, but if it gets bent sharp enough, it can puncture the sheathing, and obviously that could be dangerous. So we'll go ahead and fill that trench in, and then we'll work on this one. You can see it's not in a straight line, and I want it to be in a straight line like it is over here, just for any digging purposes. All right, so now we've got all that taken care of. As far as the electrical, it's in there. We'll twist it out and make it to where it runs straight. But first I want to get this. This is actually 5 times insulated, and I'll show you the end of it when we get to the other end. I'm going to leave it on there right now because I'm going to be pulling it through water and everything. This is 5 times insulated. All this got is basically 2 1-inch pieces of PEX in here, and they're used as the feed and return line for our hot water from our wood boiler. And this is going to go towards our house, and then the wood burner itself is going to be moved from there, and it's going to be placed over here behind or beside the new shop building, because we're going to use it to heat both the house and the shop building. So we did start filling in. I did forget to mention one thing. So right now it's got a little dirt in it, but you can see this is actually a quick connect fitting for like an air compressor. We've adapted the PVC from it. There's a valve. Yeah, you might be able to see the blue handle there. It's got a little dirt in here too. Anyways, there's a valve down there so we can turn the water on or off for the pasture. And what we do is we turn it off in the wintertime, and we use this to blow the lines out. Makes it to where we don't have to worry about it freezing. And the thing is that other than this winter, we don't have a need for the water to be on in the pastures. One less thing to worry about, freezing and busting or anything like that. So just thought I'd show you guys that. But now I'm gonna go ahead and fill all this in. There's a much simpler way to run the piping and stuff that we did. Unfortunately, as you can see here, we have wires that are coming through here We had water lines up here that we had to go under, and we also had the electric for the house that we had to go under. So that is why we had to feed it the way we did. Unfortunate, but it's still simpler than bothering with either, you know, digging up or disconnecting the other end, pulling it out, or cutting it even. Much more efficient. I'm going to show this to make it make a little more sense. So I've cut the feed line for the house from the hot water heater, or from the hot water, sorry, from the wood boiler right here. The reason I did that is because I've left about 7 or 8 foot on here, and it's going to stick up right here. And then the one from the shop building is going to come down, go over, and then come up right next to it. But I figured I'd show you what's inside of it. So this is the tubing that you saw, right? This right here is very simple. It's just insulation. They've wrapped it multiple times. It's got 5 layers on it. It's supposed to lose, for every 100 foot that it's been run, it should lose no more than 1 degree of temperature in the water that's in there. So in our case, the water is anywhere between 150 and 170 degrees. At 170 degrees, the wood boiler, the fan kicks off so that it doesn't heat the water anymore. So the water that's going through these lines coming out should be around 170, and when it returns after it goes through a heat exchanger, it's usually lost about 15 degrees from the heat exchanger. So it comes back in at about 150 to 155 degrees. So I'll cut this open and let you see kind of the inside of it. So you can see they're labeled. So the red is actually going to be the feed from the wood boiler. The blue will be the return from the heat exchanger. And then we'll cut this as well. This runs through the length of the pipe, so I could run the electricity with it. For instance, I'd tie the wire to this and I'll pull it through, and then it's easy to get through. But you can see there's a lot of insulation in there. And since we're running ours so much farther, you probably can't see the sunlight behind me. Since we're running ours so much farther than what we really want to, it's ideal to have it set up like that. We've also got a bigger pump for the house so that it'll push it. As you can see, I mean, it's flat ground for the most part getting to the house and everything. And it's actually why we buried it so deep, is so that we wouldn't have to worry about the heat being lost to atmosphere. So, you know, your soil is a very good insulator. That's why the earth homes work so well. But just figured I'd show you that before I bury it. I forgot to show you guys, but this is all done. I know it doesn't look done, but this right here is going to be the lines that'll come inside the garage or inside the shop to run the heat exchanger and to heat the building. This will be our electric, which will actually stand up on the outside of the building, and then we'll have an elbow that brings it in. This will be inside the building, and this will be inside the building, like actually poured inside the pad. This will be outside the pad. This right here, where these two come together, this is the other end of that one. I just haven't cut it yet. And I won't cut it until after they do the concrete and I get my wood boiler over here. This right here comes from, or will go to the house. And same thing, I'm not gonna cut it until I get the wood boiler over here, because what I wanna do is cut all of this piping off and then cut it the length on what I need. So that's kind of what the mess is, and still got to deal with all this, but that's pretty much going to end this video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and like the video. Thanks, have a blessed week, and we'll see you next time.